And welcome back, everybody, to another week at Beyond the Trailer Park. And we are all here today because last week was fun. I got to go solo, so it was an adventure for sure. But my ladies are here this evening, both of you. So, Beth, how's things over in Pennsylvania? Yeah, can't hear you now for some reason. Lovely.
Well, that's how things are over.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, there we go.
Voice meter, I'm still figuring it out.
She's playing with the sound software, so you have to give her.
Yeah.
Beth's playing with her equipment tonight, y'all.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Where's that
right.
pink thing? Oh, wait, I don't use that. No.
That's at Deborah's house.
Yeah.
That's right up handy right here.
You notice how easy she has that accessible?
Yep.
Yes. So that's kind of scary.
It's on the shelf right above there. We had it out during Holy Crap on Saturday night, for a minute.
Yes, you did.
Why does that not surprise me?
I don't know. How's things down in Georgia?
It's cold. I had to put my flip-flops up.
Oh, muffin.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I had to do the whole ritual thing, put them away and cried about it. And it's cold. I mean, I'm wearing 2 shirts and it's 62 degrees. Wearing a sweatshirt and a t-shirt.
It hit 0 since we came on, so it is like 30 degrees colder here. Just saying.
No.
As I say, your weather's shorts weather, girl.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I've announced it on this show or not, but I know I've announced it on ours. But I got a promotion at work.
Yes, you haven't announced it here.
Yes. This is actually a big thing because in the industry that I work, the transportation industry, being a woman in charge is not the thing. I mean, you just don't put women in as terminal manager. It's mostly men. So that's something I've been fighting for, I don't know, 15 years now. And I finally won. I have a terminal manager's job.
Hey, Ms.
Yeah,
Manager.
women's rights.
That's right. That's exactly how I view it.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Go ahead. I was going to say, the sad thing is when I started in food service way back in the 80s, and when I was still living in Buffalo, I was like one of the first female line cook / chefs / prep people. So women were not, I mean, even back then. So it's sad that it's still going on.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, even in this, because we're a huge transportation, I mean, we have a huge port here, so I mean, it's mostly men. I mean, you go to meetings and it's all men. If a woman shows up, it's because they're a secretary or something, so so it's like a big ordeal. I mean, it was funny because when I got my offer letter, I was down at Corinne and Chris's house for the Georgia-Florida game. Go Dogs. And, it was just, it wasn't, I mean, it was the fact that I was offered the position, but it was like an accomplishment. And it was an accomplishment for all women, not just for me.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, speaking of accomplishments for women, too, how about our new prime minister, folks? Like, damn. Have you heard much about this, Miss Ashley?
I think I heard a little bit. Didn't he make like half of his cabinet 50% women?
Oh, yes, indeedy. On purpose. That was his plan from day one. So we have 30 cabinet ministers and 15 are women, and even I dare say cooler, equally as cool, 50, not the same 50%, but 50% also were sworn into office without the God crap.
Really?
Yep.
And what I find impressive as well, besides the fact that they're actually qualified for those positions, unlike Ted Cruz, who's the head of our science committee thingy, is you have quite a few Sikh.
We have 2 visible Sikhs. One lady was an Afghan refugee 20 years ago as a child, and she's now, I forget what minister she is, but yeah, she's now a cabinet minister. And just to give you, as Beth was saying, people like actually make sense in the job. Our Minister of Defense, who is one of the Sikh gentlemen, is a incredibly decorated war hero, one of the best spies in all of North America, from what I can gather. And then when he came and retired from the military, he became a cop. So that's the kind of dude that you would want on your, as your Minister of National Defense. The one to me that really demonstrates just how qualified these people are, we have something called the Minister of Sport and People with Disabilities. She is a visually impaired Paralympian. Like,
Wow.
fits the exact description. And also, something else that's really cool, because as you may have heard me harp about Harper before, he was very anti-science and did everything that he could to quash either making scientific discoveries or talking about scientific discoveries in Canada. The first minister that he appointed, because what's a little bit different than Canada, I guess I should backpedal a little bit, is the prime minister, like, we don't really have any set cabinet offices. Although we always have like a minister of national defense, so we usually have a minister of health, minister of finance, that kind of thing. But it's not set in stone by any stretch. So he can create what a cabinet minister or what the cabinet post is at will, basically. So one of the first things he did was make the Minister of Science, who's a woman and a scientist. So that's pretty damn cool.
Yes.
Also, Harper was a climate change denier, and he actually forbade the use of climate change in official correspondence or official government dealings. So we now have the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Yeah, and Harper was very anti-immigration. He was very anti-Muslim and all of that. And so we now have the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration, and Refugees.
Wow.
So Trudeau is basically giving a big, huge middle finger to Harper, like, get the fuck out and let me kick you in the ass on the way, asshole. So I'm just really excited about the possibilities. I mean, like, the Minister of Health, a doctor, who knew? And I think my all-time favorite, the Minister of Transportation, is a fucking astronaut. The first, and not just any astronaut, the first Canadian in space.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Mr. Mark Garneau, who's old enough that he's walking with a cane right now, but first Canadian in space, Minister of Transport. Minister of Veterans Affairs. Pardon?
I said, at least it's not a Baptist preacher.
Oh, fuck no. There are no preachers in our cabinet. I'll just make that clear. The Minister of Veterans Affairs is a paraplegic who was hit by a random drive-by shooter. So even though he has not served in the military, he sure as hell knows what it is to be shot and disabled.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's just the diverse. They said it's the most diverse cabinet in Canadian history. So as the Prime Minister said, this is what a cabinet that looks like Canada is like.
What was the drop mic comment he made about 2015?
Someone in the press asked him, "Why is it important for you to have a gender-balanced cabinet?" And he just looked at her and was like, "It's 2015. Duh."
I couldn't remember the exact line, but I just was like, yeah, that's
Yep.
definitely a drop mic.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. It's 2015, not 1850, not 1692.
Right.
We also have two Aboriginals. Actually, the Attorney General is an Aboriginal lady who was a Crown prosecutor. So she's the Aboriginal lady there, and we have an Inuit, or for the politically incorrect, that would be an Eskimo fellow. But an Inuit is the Minister of Fisheries, which they do a hell of a lot of fishing up there. So it just all around makes a hell of a lot of sense. So even though I still have some reservations about Trudeau. Yeah, Harper, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. In fact, the morning of the swearing-in ceremonies, he snuck in because they started the procession down to Rideau Hall at like 9:30 in the morning. So he was at Rideau Hall, which is the residence of the Governor General, and the Governor General is the Queen's representative, so he's like, he or she is, we've had many of both. Currently he is the de facto Queen in Canada, so he acts as her representative. So Harper slithered into Rideau Hall real early before anyone was around, threw in his resignation, and slithered the fuck out before anybody ever saw him.
Really?
Yep.
I just hope some of
And
that
by
common sense
contrast,
trickles down to the U.S.
I do too. By contrast, as soon as Trudeau was finished swearing in and giving his speech, he waded into the crowd to take selfies for an hour. Like,
Now,
seriously, I'm sitting there going, I think it's CSIS that takes care of security for the Prime Minister, because we don't have Secret Service or any of that. I'm just sitting there going, wow, those poor CSIS bastards are probably like swearing a blue streak right now, because the PM just grabs his wife and wades into hundreds of people. Like, and they just let they open the doors to the property of Rideau Hall, and they figured there was probably about 3,000 people on the front lawn of Rideau Hall to watch. They put like screens outside so they could watch the ceremony and stuff. And Harper never let anybody near him or have press around or anything like that. In fact, the press that were covering the swearing-in ceremony, they were practically giddy at the opportunity. They're like, we might be able to, like, go and wait after cabinet meetings now, because they used to always be able to do that. They would wait outside the cabinet for the ministers to come out, and then they could try and get interviews. And the ministers were always free to give quick interviews, or they might even get the PM. Harper, in 12 years, forbade the press from even venturing onto that floor of Parliament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the kind of, and sadly, I was highly unaware of just what a slimy, secretive bastard that guy was. So really, really, really glad to see him go the fuck out.
I bet you are. Well, having the new prime minister now, it sounds like he is leaning in the right direction. He's
Yes.
making decisions in the right direction. Let's just hope that he stays there and that America will follow suit.
On the other,
I think it's funny, like you're talking about him taking the selfies and stuff. It's like, I could imagine. Well, I mean, just look what President Obama goes through. Like if he, like his decision to go to Oregon after the shooting there. I mean, the press was just not just so much the press, but they were just like all over him. I mean, anything negative they could think of. I mean, he bought, I guess, a selfie stick a while ago, and they were like, he should be doing more instead of taking pictures of him. So it's just, the atmosphere is just totally different.
oh, it is absolutely. And the other thing I keep hearing, which I find highly amusing, is, wow, your PM's really hot, which he kind of is. In fact, he's 3.5 months older than me. That's all.
Really?
Yep. He's 43, I'm 43, but he was born in December of 71 and I was born in March of 72.
Wow.
So, yeah. So he's only 3.5 months older than me. Oh, he's a Christmas baby as well. He's born on Christmas Day. So Merry fucking Christmas, Canada.
You mean he's a winter solstice baby?
Yeah, Mithras man. It's so weird for me though, because of course I was alive during his father's tenure as prime minister, and to me it's like, whoa, Prime Minister Trudeau, I'm back in the freaking 70s, like. But I put up a meme the day after the election of like, okay, I've now lived through 2 shrub presidents, as I like to call them, and now the second Prime Minister Trudeau. It's going to be really fucking weird if they come up with the second President Clinton in my lifetime. It's like,
oh my gosh.
holy deja vu.
Or God help us, a third
Bush.
No.
We can't have a third. No, we can't. It just.
No. Although I do get a kick out of his campaign slogan, the way, especially the way Colbert is. He's like, jab. Yeah, we were talking with presidential candidate jab.
Some companies have that policy. I know that some of the companies around here that we can't hire family members.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the same thing for our government.
Well, that's the nice thing is,
yes,
Trudeau wasn't hired at least, so that's good.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, wow. So anyway, enough about Canadian politics, because I probably bored all of our American friends, but I'm just excited about the whole thing.
Well, I think it's a good thing because hopefully, as Ashley pointed out, that he will continue with his, for lack of a better word, liberalism, and it will trickle down here because that's the way it should be. I'm sorry.
He is the leader of the Liberal Party, so that's it, liberalism.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, everybody is now using, lib turd and all that stuff as being liberal is derogatory.
And it's like, no.
Well, I had someone call me a liberal, and I'm like, actually, no, I'm a socialist, you asshole. I'm not liberal. There's the difference.
Some of the press coming out after the election was like, Canada's new leftist prime minister. I'm like, no, they're centrist, and they're actually kind of right-leaning right now. So, no, that's not even close to left in Canada, man. We've got 2 flavors of communism here, so.
Oh my goodness. Well, I had promised Beth that I would talk about cat possums.
Oh yes, that article. What the hell was? Okay, I'm gonna let you go with it. Please explain that article.
Okay, so last night we had Cash and Pastor Leroy on the show, and apparently, Cash had called to invite Pastor Leroy on the show, and he said he'd be there as quick as he could, but he was dirty because he'd been up under his trailer dealing with some cat possums. Okay? So if y'all want to go find out about the cat possums, you got to listen to the show because it's actually quite funny. Well, so then this article just happened to come about. And it's a South Carolina couple arrested after reporting possums and people jumping out of their fridge.
You know what? My first thought was Ghostbusters, where she opens the fridge and it's like the Lord of the Underworld.
Oh, yeah.
My first thought was, damn, what kind of acid were they on?
Yeah.
So it comes from WTOC is our local news channel here in Savannah, and they have satellite offices everywhere. But it said that the deputies responded. I can't. This article is just it's just funny. So it says deputies responded to a 911 call Sunday from a couple who said they were seeing possums and people jumping out of the refrigerator and microwave, according to the incident report. First off, people jumping out of their microwave. That should be your first clue.
You awfully small people.
Yes, I mean, come on. Now, I could understand a possum because, I mean, we do live in this is country, so I can understand possums. I have a possum that visits Sagan every night on our back porch. So I understand a possum, but come on now. People jumping out the microwave, first sign. So first, the deputies couldn't find the address the couple initially gave to the 911 dispatcher, but eventually found where they lived. Well, isn't it as soon as you call 911, they automatically have your address then?
I was thinking that too when I read
Well, it depends on if they're on the E911 system.
Some
places are not completely on that yet.
This is true.
Although I thought they should be by now, but.
Then it said the deputy asked the couple if they were on drugs, and they told him no. Okay, well, that was clearly a lie. And then they said they told the deputy that they had pictures of worms coming out of their floor of their vehicle and had pictures of midgets and other people camouflaged. Yet the only two pictures that are on the website are the people that reported that they saw these things.
Well, I read too, like the guy showed one of the policemen, a picture of a tree. Is like, can't you see the guy standing there? And he's like, no. Well, that's because he's in camouflage. Only I can see him.
Only I can see him.
Oh Lord.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I just did not have the gumption to read it because because of stuff I've been reading. It's just like I didn't think I could take another one.
It's whacked.
They started to give him and then the official said that the guy had 6 felony warrants for narcotic charges, but he wasn't on drugs. He just happened to be on drugs the night that he just happened to not be on drugs the night that people and possums were jumping out this man's microwave and refrigerator.
Because I'm like, you wouldn't fit in a microwave, and you're the smallest one of us.
There's no way in hell I'm fitting in my microwave. And if I can, trust me, I'd be doing it every opportunity to scare the shit out of Bobby.
Rufus wants to warm up his coffee. Is like, hi.
And then it goes on to say that EMS said the couple seemed to be fine mentally. Well, Cash had posted, now this was actually kind of funny. Cash had posted up under the article from AOA. He says, EMS says they seem fine mentally. First, EMS is not trained in psychology. Secondly, it figures that an officer and EMS consider it normal and okay for folks to see opossums and midgets when there are none. Welcome to the South.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing was, it was just funny that came out the day after.
Cat possums.
Yeah, Pastor Leroy has cat possums that he's trying to contain in a trailer park.
You know what else is really cool? Pastor Leroy, he survived the apocalypse.
He did.
He did.
Yes, he did. He survived the apocalypse, and now him and Cash are going to get together, and they're going to do a show, and they're going to. So it's very exciting. Maybe that's the reason why he survived the apocalypse, is so he could hang out with Cash, do the show.
According to what he said on some audio that we have not released to the public yet, something about him being the chosen pastor or something, because that's why he shouldn't. Nobody should be worried that he was still there, kind of thing. So we'll see. I'm just excited that he survived the apocalypse because
So am
he's.
I. And Pastor Leroy got to meet Myrtle last night. That was quite interesting.
Oh, I think Ruby might be interested in trying to chat up the good pastor again soon.
I think that would be a great idea. It's been a while since we heard from him and Ruby.
Uh-huh. This is true.
So that would be nice.
And something that Pastor Roy is always working hard to protect everybody from is Satanists, right?
Right.
Yes. And so this evening, this is kind of the Beth show because I just said, you got a topic, you go with it, girl. And so she's going to enlighten us about all of the nuances and such to do with Satanism.
I'm going to attempt.
Oh, she'll do a great job.
Well, you guys have all heard me harp on different aspects of Satanism, small s Satanism. We hear about, the kids being possessed by demons and getting killed because mommy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, or daddy and daddy, or whatever, are trying to exorcise their children. And Deb, the good woman that she is, talked me into joining another, quote, debate group.
All I said, you seen the weird ass shit they post in there, and she was done.
And, well, okay, let me put it to you this way. I've never seen a collection of dumb, stupid people in my life. And I'm not trying to be... I mean, and not just... Huh?
I'm saying, and all of them are like that. The believers, the non-believers, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like... and not just surrounding Satanism. I mean, that I'll come to that. But, I mean, just... the woo is just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So this one dude posted a meme. I'm gonna try to pull it up so I can describe it if I can find it. Posted a meme, and it's actually a picture of Baphomet. And there is he has this picture of Baphomet in his traditional, one arm up, one arm down pose with wings, and he's red and all this stuff. And he posts, like if you love Satan, ignore if you love Satan, and comment if you hate God. Okay, yeah. The meme makes absolutely no fucking sense. Okay? Besides the fact that he's equating Baphomet to Satanism, that's a whole nother story, because actually, yeah, we won't even go there. But, so, I started reading the comments, which, if you know me, why it takes me forever to post anything is because I will read every fucking comment on an article, whether it's 2 comments or 2,000, because it gives you ideas to think about and talking points and what you want to pull out.
Yeah,
so I started reading. Yeah, so I'm sitting there reading the comments, both theistic and atheistic. The atheists in this group, or those that claim to be atheists, let me rephrase that, are scary.
They're
insane.
I
really, I can kind of sort of relate, because yes, I did get sucked into the woo. Even as close as 5 years ago. But the biggest thing that irritates me, and this is coming both from being an atheist, but also having friends that are Satanists, and who self-profess to be witches, okay, is that it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
we love and worship the devil along with our baby eating, by the way. And
Yes.
it just is so freaking annoying. And it's not just theists saying this; it's atheists, or as I said, self-professing, and it drives me insane. And it's just like, I mean, initially I was going to do this as a Havoc and Chaos Live segment, but I got up to 27 pages of notes and realized there's no way in hell I'm going to get this down to 15 minutes or less.
Well, you know, Susie Robbins
Mm-hmm.
from the Barroom Atheists, she's a card-carrying member of the Satanic Temple.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What most people don't realize, and this is one of the points I want to bring out, is a lot of people don't realize there is what I call small s Satanism. In other words, the self-professed Satanists, like the some of the killings that have been in the news in recent years. The most prominent one I can remember, because it happened in my fucking state, is the Miranda Barber case from last year, where her and her boyfriend killed a guy in a car. Just, oh, I'm a Satanist. I've been one since I was 14. Well, first of all, you can't even join a Satanist organization, and I'm going to use primarily Church of Scientology.
Yeah, that's a
some may consider that Satanist, but Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple are the two that I am most familiar with from the atheistic side. What people don't realize is there is another side to Satanism. There is a theistic side. So they're lumping this whole group, atheistic and theistic, into one. And then they're melding in the whole satanic panic bullshit from the 80s and 90s, and we have small s Satanism and the hyperbole surrounding that.
well, isn't part of that comes from the religious idea that if you're not, you know, the right Christian or whatever, if you're an atheist or if you're anything else, you're serving Satan whether you know it or not, because you've been tricked by him. And I think that's where part of that comes from. It's like, if you're not one of us, you're just a de facto servant of Satan.
Well, and that's actually the mentality that, see, modern Satanists, what we know, like Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, really, and even most of the theistic Satanism has only been around since like late 50s, early 60s. Now, if you go back, and this is part of the problem, is too many times theistic Satanists primarily get lumped in with the medieval concept of witchcraft.
Yes.
Going back to the Inquisition and in some, the witch trials in Europe from the 15th to the 18th centuries. And so they get lumped into what I call it the icky. The icky Satanists and the icky witches. Case in point being, there's a case out of California that I am trying to parse out, because of course the media, I don't know specifically if it's specifically the media or even the police involved are calling it witchcraft. And if you guys remember, back in July around the blue moon, we had the killings in Florida that the media immediately jumped on, the police actually immediately jumped on and called it. It was killings motivated by witchcraft because of the quote blue moon. Well, the problem is actually the people were killed 3 days prior to the full moon. Of course, that never got until like weeks after. And, okay, in most cases, for those that profess to be witches, and I will be the first to admit, I have 5 or 6 friends that describe their life beliefs or their religion, for lack of a better word, as being witch.
I used to think I was for a while.
Yeah, is totally different than the ideology that we have, or the idea that we have of witchcraft. I mean, it's still steeped in the Salem witch trials, still steeped in that 15th century idea, where, and like you were saying, it's the icky factor, of being different, and that's what it surrounds. I mean, basically the whole charge of being in the case of Salem, if you really look at the history surrounding the Salem witch trials, it had nothing to do with witchcraft. It had to do with, oh, I want their property, so I'm going to accuse them of being a witch.
A lot. It started off as sort of mass hysteria, and it did turn into, hey, if somebody gets accused of witchcraft and they get executed, their land comes up for grabs. Well, what do you know? Oh, I think neighbor so and so is definitely a witch,
Yeah.
And that's what it.
And yeah, and that's what it gets tied up with. Now, going back even further to the witch trials in Europe, it trying to delineate between, quote, Satanism and witchcraft is really difficult, because for the most part, when you use the term Satanist, you are being pejorative, and basically, like you said, it's opinions that are different from the predominant religious or moral beliefs of the time period.
Well, and a good illustration of that mashup is that article that you and I started commenting on World Nut Daily with the guy who was like, oh, I was a Satanist who sacrificed abortion babies for Satan. And he was saying, he belonged to a coven. It's like Satanists belong to covens, witches belong to covens. And that's where that sort of cross-pollination was going on.
Yeah, and it's just it's really frustrating. There's like being accused of being a Satanist. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Satanist, but in the terminology they're trying to make it is that it's a really, really bad thing because you worship the devil. Well, no, I don't, because I don't believe he exists, and neither do most Satanists believe they don't. And that's the difference. They don't. They're spouting out these words that they don't even know what they mean. And it's just so annoying. The other one, we eat babies, or like you mentioned, the World Nut Daily article that abortion is basically a satanic ritual, which then that was the Zachary King piece that I did a couple weeks ago. And then there's, we're always angry and all. It's just like, why is it that there has to be such a negative connotation surrounding not just being an atheist, but being a Satanist?
Because there are very unhappy people in this world, and they have to find something to complain about.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, in some sense, we're seeing the new demonization coming around with the T in LGBT. You're seeing that same demonization that we as atheists go through, and Satanism. I'll use them interchangeably. Now the transgender community is going through that demonization. It's annoying.
Yeah, I was talking to Deborah not too long ago. I think it was but you and I have been so busy.
No.
It had to have been 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I went through another phase that I went through when I first came into atheism. When I first came into atheism, I was all happy. I was like, wow, I'm around a lot of like-minded people. And then something happened, and it made me just want to walk away from it all. But then I realized, I was like, you know what? It's not about that. It's about, this is what I'm working towards. This is what I'm going to stay focused on. Well, it happened again. Not the same situation happened again, but I started seeing a lot of negativity and a lot of backstabbing and things like that happening in this community, and I started getting really depressed by it. Because it made me think, we're sitting here, how can we combat the religious when we have our own issues that we need to deal with within our own community?
Yeah.
Yep.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, and part of that too is actually within the Reich, that was actually part of their game plan.
Yeah.
They wanted to infiltrate atheist communities and cause this kind of discord. Now, whether they've actually managed to carry that out remains to be seen. But this discord that is occurring is actually playing right into the Reich's hand. Because that's exactly what they want.
Yep. What's happening
and that's
right
what's
now?
So discouraging about.
Yeah. That's exactly why I was having such a problem. I was like, we're doing exactly what they want to happen. And if we I mean, I've always heard, well, every group has their hypocrites, every group has their people, and I understand that completely, but it still doesn't mean that it's right, and it still doesn't mean that it doesn't break my heart.
Yeah.
Well, it's frustrating to see because you're fighting a two-pronged battle.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't get anything accomplished when you're fighting on two fronts, just as Germany.
Right.
World War II.
And not
you're going to go down in defeat.
and I'm not going to mention any names, but one of the things that really, really, really bothered me was, okay, Beth set up a GoFundMe because she needed the help. All right. She had a medical issue that could have cost her her life, could have cost her her job, could have cost her where she was living. Okay. We could all be going to go pick Beth off of the street because she could have gotten kicked out. And, a GoFundMe was set up to take care of her and that's a good reason to set up a GoFundMe. But to set up a GoFundMe to just steal money from people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. That makes the person no better than what. I'm sorry, I was getting worked up. I just knocked everything off my table here. It makes it. I'm not going to say us because we're not doing it, but when one person does it, everybody views it as us.
Mm-hmm.
And when the religious are going, well, y'all are telling us that we should pay taxes, and y'all are telling us that we shouldn't expect 10%, but yet y'all got people over here stealing y'all's money.
Yeah. Well, and then that whole bit that, well, you automatically have no morals if you don't have God, then you get some atheists doing stupid shit like that, and they're like, see, they have no morals.
Yeah.
Like,
see, it's Satan, it's Satan. Yeah,
and then it's like, oh, and I'm going to take the next pedophile Christian that comes along and say, oh, look, they're all a bunch of baby fuckers. Like, no.
Yeah. and I think that's where a lot of the, in my opinion, I think that's where a lot of the stigma comes from. It's because of people's behavior.
Yeah. Well, and it's frustrating too because, like, since you brought it up, I'll use my thing as an example. It's really, really sad. I mean, I didn't raise the full amount that I was looking for, but I did raise enough that I was able to keep a roof over my head.
Right.
And I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart who did donate. I mean, you guys saved my ass, literally. But to turn around and find out that people like the Pines, who the whole bakery bullshit, have over $350,000 in a GoFundMe and a couple other accounts to use at will, although they have, according to them, they have not touched the money. They're not going to because of the legal ramifications, and yes, they did file an appeal. You have people like Mystic Pizza who raised, I think, over $1 million. Stuff like that. It's like, serious. We have people in our own community, when I say community, the atheist community as a whole, who are literally fighting to keep a roof over their heads due to loss of job, illness, injury. So it's kind of frustrating to see that when, it's just, like you said, where individuals are lumping everything, they're lumping one individual's actions into the whole community. And that's the same thing that's going on with this whole Satanism, atheist bullshit too. You have one or two incidents where you have self-professed Satanists. As I said, the Miranda Barber case is oh yeah, me and my husband, we're Satanists, so yeah, we killed because of Satan. No, you did not, because that's not part of their belief.
They just badass to say that. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But
and then this whole like we were saying with the World Net Daily article that oh, now all of a sudden Planned Parenthood is satanic and it's like this altar for the sacrifice of fetuses, in the back of the.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? And they were eating it up as if, medical professionals would, no matter what you think they're doing with fetal tissue is irrelevant, they still have to keep the women alive. So having a surgical theater, basically, where they're just gonna let some schmo in a bunch of satanic robes come in and play in the blood. Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
And
it's
that's the misnomer that surrounds it, and we as atheists too, we have that misnomer surrounding us as well. Like you had mentioned, the whole quote morality issue. Oh, you don't have God, you don't have morals. Well, I'll tell you one thing: if that's the God, and I'm referring to the God of the Bible, of course, if that's the God that you use as your example of morality, I want nothing to fuck to do with it.
I'm gonna say Allah ain't any better, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, you're a little bit more proficient in Islam than I am. But
Well,
it's funny because I didn't hear you, hon.
I said it's the same fucking God anyway.
Well, yeah. It's just these misnomers, this demonization is just it's so asinine, and we're guilty of it too. I mean, there's that meme that goes around that's gone around a few times where oh no, I just forgot my thought. Yeah, three cans of Monster in one day, not a good idea. But yeah, I mean, we're just as guilty as they are, but I think the damage from us is minor compared to the damage that when you're demonizing a whole group of people, such as the LGBT community or people that believe different than you. I mean, I have a friend who is, well, actually, I have a couple friends that are actually reverends within the Church of Satan. One of which is pretty much untouchable, and he just doesn't care what anybody thinks. But I have another friend who was basically outed at work and lost their job because of it. That's the danger of this bullshit mentality, because what's the first thing you think of when you, okay, disregard all that you know up to this point, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Satanism or satanic or Satan?
Some kind of ritual sacrifice.
I think of the man with the pointy red tail and horns.
Okay. And that's as I said, what I call the ick factor. What if I told you that has nothing to do with Satanism?
Well, now I know that. If you would have told me that 3 years ago or a year ago, I would have said, I don't believe you.
Yeah. And that's the problem.
Bastards.
Now add into that being an atheist and being called a Satanist. And vice versa.
Yeah, I can understand why that would upset somebody. I mean, it would, I guess, because the fact that I have found my voice, I'd be more like, how can I be a Satanist if I'm an atheist? Because that would mean that I have to believe in something.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the funny thing with atheistic Satanism, they don't believe in Satan.
Right.
At all. He is an archetype. Now, even in theistic Satanism, depending on, and I'm going to use the word denomination for lack of a better one, depending on which organization or which denomination you're associated with, some of them don't even believe in Satan as an actual deity. Again, it's an archetype. It's both of them actually focus on individuality. Now, are there extremes in both groups? Yes, just like there is in any religion. And I guess what got me starting to think down this line, there was an article that Hemet Mita, the Friendly Atheist, had posted the other day. And it's entitled, Christian Leaders Say Atheists Are Actively Suppressing God's Truth. Is That a Kind of Bigotry? And he was referring to a 3-minute-ish video put out by a so-called apologist basically where he cites the verse in Romans chapter 1, 18 and 19, where it says, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may have been known about God is plain to them because God has made it plain to them. Basically, it's called the rebellion thesis or the rebellion theory, is that we as atheists know God exists. We know God exists because we are intentionally rebelling against God. So we can't rebel against something that we don't believe exists. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I said I have 2 cans of Monster in me, and can number 3 is starting to hit.
And we get told that all the time, you just want to rebel against God. I'm like, so if I was going to rebel against somebody, I don't sit there and go, you don't exist, fuck you. I'm going to actively, do stuff they said not to. But, you know.
So I was reading through Hemmett's comment, and he was Hemmett was specifically talking about the verse in question, and some things popped into my head that dealt more with the apologetics aspect of it. And as a counter citation to this apologist, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try, posted a counter to this that said, it seems to me, the guy replying to this other apologist goes, hold on, lost my thought. That's what Randall Rouser, this is the one countering, wants to know. Rouser is an evangelical Christian and a seminary professor, and he says Coco is wrong to assume things about those who question God. And this is from Rouser. When Christians categorically deride all atheists without exception as inventing sinful rebellion in virtue of failing to affirm the proposition God exists, and they persist in doing so based on such grossly inadequate evidence as Kokel provides, and it seems to me that he is culpable of bigotry. And Hammett responded, well, that he didn't like the word bigotry. So he goes on, and Rouser actually responded to Hammett's post and goes, your fair-mindedness is evident in your reluctance to call Kokel's treatment of atheists as bigoted because it may be born of ignorance. That's a fair caution. At the same time, I would add there is a such thing as culpable ignorance. If Kokel's bread and butter as a Christian apologist is to be engaging with folks of diverse perspectives, particularly atheists, he must surely base his interactions on some awareness of the views of real live atheists. The failure to do so in favor of prefabricated categories leaves him culpable to the charge of bigotry. And I thought that was kind of funny because that's what theists in general are doing to us as atheists, comparing us to the icky Satanists and vice versa. And I just thought it was kind of interesting because it's like, are they guilty of bigotry? And should they be held accountable for it?
Well, I do agree that there's definitely a level of ignorance involved most of the time. But then again, a lot of that's willful because there's that mentality that if you even think about Satan, he's just going to come and get you. So you can't want to learn or know anything because that's tempting, and you're going to lose your spot in heaven and all that shit. So I think part of that is willful ignorance, and if it is willful ignorance that causes the bigotry, well, then they have to own it.
Yeah. Well, you actually targeted that when you did all your comments.
I know. Well, and the one woman looked at my profile picture because I used my Facebook to link to the comment program, and took a look at my Facebook profile. I was like, "You look like you're ready for a satanic ritual." I'm like, "That's Islamic. That's no."
Yeah, well, and we can throw in some as well.
Wow.
I don't know how many comments I've seen saying that Islam is satanic.
Oh yeah, I see that all the time.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, where are we as atheists? Do we have a responsibility to try to eliminate this quote ignorance?
Well, but the downside is the minute you try and educate somebody who's so wrapped up in that sort of mythological evil ick thing, they don't want to hear it because they've already branded you a liar and you've got Satan's forked tongue and you're just trying to deceive them. And so, you can try, but a lot of them are just going to wig out and do the la 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 because, you're talking Satan right in front of them.
Yeah, which I do a lot lately. It's just like, no, actually, I'm an atheist, but I do believe in religious freedom for everybody. I mean, granted, yes, I do personally believe that all religion needs to be wiped off the face of the earth, but in reality, I know that's not a possibility, so I'm going to defend somebody's right to believe the way they believe, as long as nobody is physically or emotionally being hurt by it.
Am I still sounding crappy?
We all are.
Okay. Because I find you're fading in and out more so.
That's probably my internet connection.
Actually, how do you sound?
How does it sound?
How do we sound?
Y'all sound like y'all breaking up really bad.
I then am going to pop out and back in as long as I can find the damn link again. Oh, there it is. Yeah, because in case people might be wondering, I set this up through YouTube this time because I was hoping to get the live chat going, but then that means we don't get Q&A and it's all a real clusterfuck. But let me just pop out and right back in.
Okay. So, Ashley, what are your thoughts about this whole thing with culpable ignorance and bigotry?
See, the problem is that I wasn't hardly able to hear any of it because we're breaking up.
It's being willfully ignorant on purpose.
Being on purpose.
Oh, that made a lot of sense. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, it does actually.
Okay.
That's being willfully ignorant on purpose. Because sometimes I do that on the show. That's why it makes perfect sense to me.
No, that's not willful ignorance. That's not knowing and learning. There's a difference.
This is true. You're right. You're right. Being willfully, I'm trying to write. You know what? That makes no. You're right. That makes no damn sense. I'm like, ignorant.
Well, it's being willfully ignorant, but when you're presented with facts that counter your ignorance, you completely ignore it and just, like Deb said, la 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 la. I don't hear you.
Yeah. That's what I deal with sometimes on a daily basis. No matter what you say, no matter what kind of facts you can present, they still refuse to believe the facts. I mean, people actually still think that the Big Bang Theory doesn't exist. That it's just a theory. You can present them with all the facts that you want to, and they're still not going to believe you.
Peruse the topics in that group we were talking about, and after about 2 minutes, you'll be like, I was sure the Big Bang Theory was real, but not according to this group. The level of ridiculousness in there is astounding. Like, that one guy last night said, I'm going to ask a question, yes or no only, and then he said, is science this or this, but answer yes or no. And then it didn't matter what anyone put in the comments, he would reply fail, fail, fail. So then people just started filling the entire thread with fail, fail.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, and that's the thing. That's what I'm talking. That's, to me, is willful ignorance. I mean, you're presented with
Absolutely.
uh, uh, an argument. Now, you may not agree with it. You don't know why yet, but you go and find out. Like, I'm going to use Kelly as an example. The other night, she was on Holy Crap with you.
Yep.
And for those that don't know Kelly, I'm speaking of Kelly Wright. She does the Atheist Manifesto, and Kelly is transgendered. And even though I have been in the LGBT community pretty much my entire life, and I have friends that are transgendered, both male to female and female to male, I still get confused about it.
Yep.
To say I don't understand it, it might be going a little too far, but I sometimes don't understand it.
Well,
And I
for
don't,
me, I find
yeah.
it's full of a
Go ahead.
lot more nuance than we as cis people would have ever imagined. I think that's what
Yeah,
it is.
that's exactly the good way of putting it. So she was speaking about this program that she's involved with, and for with this
International
program,
Transgender Day of Remembrance.
yeah, and I guess within this group they are coming at it from a interfaith tolerance point of view. Now, those that know me, I have no tolerance for interfaith stuff. It grates on my nerves. I'm not exactly sure why. So I'd ask Kelly point blank, why would they even consider any religious overtones to this? And, and I was asking a serious question. I wasn't trying to play devil's advocate or anything like that, because I am baffled by it. And she goes, well, there are transgendered people that are part of the Christian community. Duh! Light bulb. So now I'm going back and rethinking stuff that I may have posted or I've written about, or just stuff I have notes all over my computer. Taking that, I mean, it was so blatantly obvious that I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even being a lesbian, and I'm a former Christian, for me, being gay was never an issue with my Christianity. But and I do find, even within the gay community and the lesbian community, I don't understand how someone can profess to be Christian and gay at the same time. But just that simple statement that Kelly made, like, this big old light bulb went on that has now caused me to rethink and re-educate myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is and I find it kind of lacking, because it's like, reading through some of the posts, not just on the group, but the comments to the one article that I did on Zachary King, there are people just don't seem to understand it, and it's like they are stuck in the notion, as I said, of the satanic cults of the 80s and 90s, even though there is absolutely no evidence of ritual satanic abuse.
And the funny thing is, we know damn well that Orthodox Jews sacrifice animals, as
Mm-hmm.
we see it. Where they're like cutting chickens' necks and spraying their blood all over to forgive sins and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's religions like Santeria that use animal parts. Voodoo uses
Yeah.
animal sacrifice. All of this God stuff uses sacrifice like that. But no, Satanism has never ever been proved to do that.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. I mean, it's like, and that's one of the things I pointed out in one of the comments to, I don't know which post, probably the World Not Daily one, but I mean, generally when we anybody, not just us three here, but when we talk about any type of religion, it doesn't matter. Satanism is always brought in, and along with that, witchcraft in some degree. And of course, there's always that comparison. Oh, you know, atheists are Satanists, and it's
Yes.
always the ick form. I mean, like, everybody sees it as anti-Christianity, which, in general, and I'm being very general because, as I said, the delineations between the groups is actually quite astounding. It's like, I mean, I've been following this stuff for 25 years, and I still don't have it straight. It's like, okay, this group believes this, and this group believes this, but yet it's just like with Christianity. This denomination believes this denomination believes this, but yet they're both Christian. How, you know, okay, I'll use Kim Davis. She, you know, her denomination does not believe in the Trinity. Okay, well, according to these guys, the Trinity is central to Christianity. So it's the same problem within
and that whole thing with, you know, the Protestants here tend to say that Catholics aren't really Christians, and some other denominations are like, well, Mormons aren't really Christians, and it's just a big old mess.
Yeah. I mean, actually, how is it down in the South with the whole, I'll just use satanic panic for lack of a better word. Do you see a lot of that down there?
No, we don't. Because we're so filled with, you know, God here. You know, I mean, Deborah seen it. I mean, church. You know,
And then you're on the highway and it's the fucking church van, and
yeah,
you know, my favorite one was the snake handlers, though.
yes,
Oh yeah.
we have that. It the biggest thing somebody being here is either a drug dealer, a murderer, a rapist. You know, and that's when it.
For some reason, I'm losing you every other syllable.
Yeah, me too.
It's all of us again.
You want to pop back in again, maybe?
Yeah, I can pop it.
Okay, because I missed half of what you said there.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. Goddamn fucking Google.
Well, it could be internet too.
Did you say I went funny again, or am I okay?
Yeah, we all are.
It's funny because it sounds fine for me.
Maybe I should try popping out when Ashley comes back.
Yeah, I'll be like, na 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 na.
I'll wait till Ashley gets back.
I'll be like, so, Grumpy Cat, how's it going? I smiled once and it was awful. We were just saying Beth might pop out too, but she's going to wait for you, so I wasn't talking to myself. I'm like, yeah, I can have a conversation from here.
I will be right back.
Okay.
Because Google fucking sucks. So what was that you were saying before? Because I missed half of it.
I was saying that. Do I still sound distorted?
No, you didn't sound distorted. You would just your volume would drop off so that I couldn't hear what you were saying.
All right, let's see here because it still sounds kind of crazy in mine.
Yeah, it's still like I can hear you're solid, but every other syllable just sort of fades out.
Right. That's what happened to me too.
Yeah, and it's still doing it. That's annoying.
Yes.
I don't know what to do then. Beth, how are you sounding?
Well, you guys are all breaking up. Can you hear me?
Wow. There.
All right, let me try this again. Maybe it's for me because I'm the host. Hang on.
The joys of live radio.
Oh, yeah.
Slash whatever you want to call it.
Well, we went to go live last night, and our Skype died.
Oh no.
Live button.
What's that?
We were talking about. Oh, great! Now,
It's still
So
doing
that goes all over in a minute.
I'm missing half of what you say all the time.
how about now?
Well, that was okay, but if you say like a full sentence, it'll just kind of like woo go.
Like if I sit back and say Dave Foda is the best looking man I've ever seen.
Oh, that's better. There we go.
We heard that nice and clear.
Oh, Foda. I'm gonna have to pull that clip for him. Actually, it's funny. When he popped on the show with us last time, Beth and I had the recorder running, and we were talking about how we use his writing fairly regularly in debates. Mm-hmm. And at one point he goes, "Oh, I feel like a piece of meat." So I like took that clip out and sent it to him. And it was funny too because it was after the show, so we'd all been drinking, and he actually didn't even remember saying it. So he's like, "When did I say that?" Well, we said it. Well, there you are, recorded saying it. So.
Leave it to us to give Foda his ego boost.
Yeah. You say it again. No, I think it might have cleared up.
Okay, good. Well, no, what I was saying is that down here we're so in I don't even know if this is a word, so I might come up with an Ashleyism here. We're so infiltrated infiltrated. What am I trying? Yeah, that word. With God, that the only time you ever hear of a Satan worshiper is a murderer, a rapist, a drug dealer. You know, I think the last time that a Satan worshiper came up was when I was in high school, and they were wearing black trench coats.
Yes.
You know, yeah. Oh, stay away from them. The goth people, they were Satan worshippers. And
I would like to just state that I do own a black leather trench coat, so there you go.
Yeah, that would make you a Satan worshiper down here. Right. So I mean, that's really the only time that we hear about it. We don't have any satanic temples here. We have a Church of Gods. We have the speaking and tongues, and the snake worshipers, but they still don't consider them satanic worshipers because they're people that that don't worship Satan. They worship snakes. They worship
I could go somewhere with that one, but I'll leave that one alone.
Or do they worship Jesus' snake?
Yeah. You're probably right.
That's where I was going.
You're probably right. But I find that's why I love doing these type of shows, because I get introduced to things like this, and hearing shows like this, because it's the first time that I've hear of. I mean, just like Beth being a Satan worship atheist. Really?
Yeah.
To further the sort of education side, Beth, could you maybe give us this is something that I'm a little fuzzy on, is the difference between LaVeyan Satanism and the Satanic Temple style stuff, or is there much difference?
Okay, that's kind of a hard one to answer. Okay. They're both... Okay, the Church of Satan is LaVeyan Satanism. It is basically, that is the church that Anton LaVey founded, for lack of a better word.
That's the guy who wrote the Satanic Bible, for those who might not be familiar.
Now, the Satanic Temple does follow LaVey, to a degree. But they, in my understanding, and as I said, I'm not as familiar with the Satanic Temple as I am with the Church of Satan. In fact, I kick myself because I was actually going through some old posts, and I don't know if you guys remember when Satanic Temple, a few years ago, when Fred Phelps's mother, I think it was, passed, and the Satanic Temple.
His wife.
Was it his wife? Okay, I can't remember his wife from her, but they went in.
The pink.
In my personal
mask, something.
Yeah, they went in my personal opinion, desecrated her grave. And I thought it was the most outlandish and, I'll say, repulsive thing on the face of the planet, just because I just thought it was taking it too far. Well, over the course of the past 3 to 5 years, I have actually come to appreciate some of the antics of the Satanic Temple. But regretfully, I have not really delved into their philosophy. Their views are very similar to Church of Satan, but there are some differences, and regretfully, I'm not educated enough to get into that. And I would love to try and get Lucianne Greaves to come and visit us on Beyond the Trailer Park. But one thing I can state with a fair amount of certainty is that where the Satanic Temple comes off as more political. They are in the news much more than the Church of Satan, and that is by design. And Lucian, there's a couple clips, he's been on a couple different shows, and he's explained why. And basically what they are doing is basically throwing back the religious bullshit of the Reich back in their faces, but with a purpose. And
exactly.
And that's the point I want to... Yes. In fact, that was brought in up in one of the comments. Someone was like, well, there's actual Satanists. They're trying to teach shit to our kids in school, and they're trying... And it's like, well, that wouldn't have happened because one saying that I like is everything we do as atheists, and I will lump as a reaction to the ass shittery you do. If you didn't do your fucking bullshit, you would not get a reaction out of us. If you just went to church and did your little pray thingy and left it at that, we wouldn't have a problem. And actually, there was a meme I posted from Daniel Moscato, actually, was saying that everything we do basically is a reaction to everything you do.
Yes.
So if you left us alone, we'd leave you alone. And that's basically, I think, listening to Lucian, that's basically the message that I get from him. Because, and this guy brought up the whole coloring books in the schools. Well, that's because the school themselves allowed Christian organizations into their schools to distribute their literature. So why, and this is a point I wanted to touch on, should Satanists, should atheists, and I mean it's kind of a rhetorical question, should we have the exact same rights as the Christians do? Why do we have to fight tooth and nail for everything? I mean, on my blog, I try to post like all the different religious liberty cases, and it's gotten so bad in the last year that I'm like 9 months behind.
Wow. That's scary.
I mean, it's just, there's like every day. I mean, fucking Kim Davis just filed another appeal after she just lost an appeal 20 minutes earlier. She filed another appeal.
Not fucking give up. Like, and then like last year, because we're getting back to the war on Christmas, you know.
Oh God.
Last year, I forget what state it was, but I'm pretty sure it was the Satanic Temple put up a display, and some like, you know, warrior for Jesus bitch went and like wrecked it, and she ended up getting off because religion, you know, and But yeah, if somebody had gone in there and so much as drew a mustache on baby Jesus, fucking heads would have rolled. But, destroy the flying Lucifer in the diorama and, well, she's just a warrior for Christ, like.
Well, what I find funny, and this is going back to the whole Baphomet thing, with the original meme that started me on this. I don't know what I'm on anymore, but if you actually look at the history of the Baphomet figure,
Yes.
it actually ties into the
The horned
Knights
goat guy,
Templar. Yeah.
for those who don't know. So
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, yeah. And I didn't know this. This is just something I found out earlier, and I didn't get a chance to delve into it. But basically, I'm trying to find my freaking notes. Oh, there it is. Now that I can read them, is we all know like the Knights Templar, and the basic story behind them. Well, when they fell out of favor, Baphomet is actually a French bastardization of the word Mohammed, which we know that's what the Templars were fighting against. Well, when the fallout came, they were accused or depicted as Baphomet.
Wow, I did not know this.
Yeah.
So,
And I didn't and actually it's the Baphomet picture, what we're familiar with, was actually first, I'll say designed, for lack of a better word, in 1855. Now, what does that tell you?
Now you
that's
keep talking about this picture, the bath.
Baphomet. Let me see if I can pull one up, and I'll do a screen
You go
share.
ahead. Maybe I can find one here quick. But yeah, he's like the goat-headed guy, like what, where was it where they had a um 10 Commandments and they were being dicks about taking it out, so the church Satanic Temple was like, oh, well, in that case, we get to have a giant Baphomet statue, and even better.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And even better was it was Baphomet talking to two little kids. It's like, yep, that'll piss the Christians off, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much been adopted now, but it really, the Baphomet statue, of the Baphomet figure, wasn't associated with Satanism as we know it today until, like, as I said, really around 1950, 1960. But it was actually designed by LFS, I'm probably slaughtering his poor name, Lee, and that was in 1855. That's when the first drawing he
There we go.
drew up after. Did you find one?
There
Because
we
I
go,
can't
folks.
find mine.
Oh, okay.
That's Baphomet.
Should have always thought it was a goat.
Well, he has a goat head.
Yeah, it's there's actually an interesting history behind it. I want to delve more into this supposed French corruption of the word Muhammad, because I had never heard that before.
Oh,
But
I could have so much fun with that. So, like, let me know when you get some good intel on that, because the next time I get a troll like today, I will have such fun.
You know, and I'm just sitting here thinking about this picture that you just shared, and I remember seeing pictures of that as a child, and I didn't associate that with Satanism. Or,
Right.
you know what I was in, and this is probably going to blow your mind, I associated that with the KKK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, when I saw that, I would automatically think, okay, that has to do with the KKK. I don't know why I thought that, but it just that was like the first thing that would pop in my head. And when y'all showed me that picture, I was like, oh, that's the thing that I used to associate KKK with.
Yep.
I'll have to look into that, see if there is a reason why that association is there.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
interested in knowing that.
Here's a nice color version.
Now, this picture is kind of interesting that you're showing, Deb, because like in generally when you see the Baphomet figure, the statue, it's more with a upper male genitalia. There are no tits there, but
Yeah. Well, you can
actually
see
Baphomet,
there's a large dick there.
yeah, and it's interesting because actually the depiction of Baphomet is actually, for lack of a better word, is supposed to be hermaphroditic. It's
Yes.
supposed to be male and female, so this is actually a more realistic
Representation.
picture. Representation.
Now,
But
did you
here's like
notice
the good.
there's also the Illuminati pyramid at the top there?
Yes, I just saw that.
I'm
And of
like,
course, that all the and they have the five-pointed star, but they don't have it inverted. And see, that's all stuff that has been Hollywoodized, for lack of a better word, is that our perceptions of Satanism, whether it's atheistic or theistic, is all based on misnomer.
yeah.
And it's just, then you lump in whether, you lump in the icky witchcraft and us icky atheists. It's really hard to battle. I've actually found myself defending Satanism more in the last month than I have
Really
before.
saying that.
It's
And
like,
here's what every Christian thinks that every atheist has in their bedroom.
which is really bizarre because the history of the pentacle is
It's wicked.
actually, well, no, it's, well, yeah, there's Wiccan, but in back in the early days of Christianity, it was actually a sign of protection. It
Right.
has Christian roots. Yeah, it's like, and this is the whole ideology of reverse Christianity, where some people, oh, Satanism is just Christianity backwards.
And for those that are just listening, it's a picture of the typical upside down pentagram in the circle with the superimposed goat's head, and then there's like a bunch of black candles, like an altar type deal. Now, but don't those look like Hebrew letters?
I was
I,
The points of the stars? That looks an awful lot like Hebrew to
it
me.
could, yeah, Hebrew or Aramaic, one of the two. They're
Okay.
very close in their scripting, so you'd need
the other
a
the one
professional.
that's up there, one of the corner of the stars look like the pi sign.
Yes, it does.
Oh yeah.
3.14 is satanic, and
Oh
it,
great! Now we're gonna have people going around saying that, Deb.
didn't you know it used to be 6.66, but they changed it to, hide the satanic link.
We celebrated Pi Day, March 14th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now, whenever we celebrate Pi Day again, it's going to be that people who celebrate the Pi Day are Satan worshipers.
Yeah, that's it. Well, they're scientists or mathematicians. They're probably satanic anyway, right? Because, this.
And that's the thing. It's just especially in the past week, if discounting the strange group that we are both members of, it's just some of the responses. I mean, I've seen, oh, they're satanic. Okay, they're scientists. It's science. Science doesn't have a belief one way or another. Science is just science. And I actually had someone come back and say, well, all scientists are Satanists. I'm like, okay, see you, bye.
Bye-bye.
But yet they'll turn around and quote, well, the whole 97% of the when we say, well, the National Science Foundation, NCSE and NSCE is 97% atheist, but then they're like, they'll come back with, well, that's only out of quote the so-called 2,000 members. So it's like, okay, so you're against them, but you're using statistics in support of them to defend your position. That makes a circular reasoning. It's like, that makes no sense. Or the mathematician. Someone was even saying, well, we won't even go with Ben Carson. We'll avoid that topic altogether.
Oh, I just had a vision of pyramids full of grain.
Mm-hmm. But there was one comment. It was, I think it was supposed to be in support of Ben Carson, but I'm not quite sure. Where they're saying, well, that's Satan deceiving him because he's a Seventh-day Adventist. He's not a real Christian.
Christian.
Oh, it's like, yeah, there's that whole discussion. It's like, why anything that we don't agree with, like you were saying in the beginning, anything we don't agree with is automatically demonized.
No true Scotsman. Which actually, I replayed that segment last week because it highlighted Justin Trudeau in it. So, or no, sorry, I didn't do that one. I did the but I looked at the No True Scotsman, and there's a lot of that going around. It's like, well, if you don't agree with me, you're not a real Christian. And of course, the guy not agreeing with me is going, no, you're not a real Christian. It's like,
Yeah,
you're all worshiping a fake invisible friend, people. Let's just get that straight.
well, I think the most telling thing that's frustrating, and it's hard to combat, like I was saying, I seem to be lately defending satanic religion as a whole. And it's like, it's kind of bizarre because, personally, I just want them all gone. But out of any of them, I wouldn't mind keeping Satanism, specifically the nice political activism of Lucienne. But it's like, do we as atheists have that responsibility? Should we be doing that, or should we just defend ourselves?
No, I don't think we should. I don't think we should just defend ourselves because we're defending the equality for everybody, and we're
Yeah.
everybody, including, like you said earlier, as much as we'd all like for religion to go away, it's not going to go away, but we fight for them to have equal rights just like us.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing is that if we don't allow for equal rights for them, there will come a time where somebody turns it around and we're the ones that are on the outs. So we have to, in order to protect our own rights, we have to protect those of everyone else's, whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I was obviously asking that rhetorical, but part of the reason is in one of the discussions I was in, someone said, well, you're defending Satanism. And I said, no, I'm defending the idea behind the First Amendment. And, I'm trying to find what I wrote exactly. I said, actually, Kelly was the person I was talking to. I'm not espousing Satanism. What I'm espousing is the intent of or behind the First Amendment, the freedom to practice a sincerely held religious belief. Whether that belief is in Allah, Yahweh, the Great Spirit, Cthulhu, or Kali makes no difference. And I said, as I pointed out to our esteemed partner in this discussion, I believe his choice of an adversary, a satanic wedding party, was chosen only for the effect, to win an argument when the issue at hand in this particular discussion was marriage equality. Your response bears out that assumption. Like Mr. Smith, you are reacting with disgust at another individual's religious belief, a religious belief that is legally protected by the First Amendment. And then she, of course, said that, oh, you're forfeiting your chance to worship God. I'm like, no, I'm not forfeiting it, bitch. I chose to.
I kicked that asshole to the curb, let me tell you.
Well, yeah, she started attacking me, again, equating being an atheist to being a Satanist, and I'm like, first of all, no, I wasn't forfeiting my chance to worship God by giving credence to his enemy, as she put it. I said, I forfeited nothing. I said, after 28 years, I chose. Yep. I said, I chose to abandon my belief in superstitious fairy tales. And that's what the discussion kind of went on a side trail, but what she didn't get is she was indoctrinated into this bullshit. Okay, granted, I was too, but
you got
using,
better.
yes, I got better.
You got better.
You know, and what they don't realize, and I think as much as in some senses kind of a weak argument, but then again it's not, is that, of course, she wants a theocracy. She wants everything ruled by the Bible. And I point blank said to her, I said, unless you espouse living in a theocratically controlled nation, I said, and I use Syria as an example because of the situation with race. And,
Saudi.
yeah. Or Saudi, yeah. I put Syria. Oh well, I meant Saudi. Well,
Eh.
but I said that man-made document that we call the Constitution is all that we have right now preventing a Christo-fascist type Sharia. Which I said, which one of the 3,000 plus versions of the righteous God, as she put it, would you choose to administrate the country? And surprisingly enough, she disappeared. She disappeared.
That. That's so frustrating. Or like that douche this afternoon who, like, as soon as I confronted him, was like, oh, block.
Yeah. Yeah, I read through that. I was like, you definitely, my one piece of hate mail that I've gotten in the last 6 months, and I kind of don't even really know whether to call it hate mail or not, was, you're obsessed with facts.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wait, what? How dare you?
The only reason I consider it a bad comment, so to speak, is because of the article it was referring to. And of course, I think I was actually, I think it was a reply to a post, and it came through my email for some reason. I rejoined some news groups, and I basically went through this whole spiel, basically what we're talking about tonight, and I'm obsessive with citing my sources.
Which is good.
And that's all I got in response, because I think I linked like 10 or 15 articles.
Where were you when I was talking to that other numbskull street preacher who was like, what's your proof? What's your proof? What's your proof? I'm like, it's in the fucking Bible!
I tried so hard to get into that conversation, I just didn't have the energy.
Oh, well. But I laughed
because
the guy today, though, started off with, you fuck, P-H-U-K,
yeah.
you're Mather.
Yeah, Mather.
You fuck your Mather. And I'm like, I didn't even reply to that comment because I'm like, because this guy was on my friends list, but it was somebody from last year, like before I actually paid attention to who I was accepting. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because as I said to Corinne, because Corinne was on it, I'm like, I say fuck Islam on my wall at least once a week, if not more. And in 11 months, today was the day he finally noticed me saying fuck Islam. I'm like, really? And he's like, you fuck your mother. And I didn't even reply because I was like, is this guy serious? Or is he being sarcastic? I really don't know. So I left it, and then other people commented, and then he started in with the, and he still would say at P-H-U-C-K, and I was like, oh, will you grow up here and just say fuck already?
Yeah, then he finally did, yeah. At first I thought, well, maybe English isn't his first language.
Well, when I could still see his profile, it said that he was a poet that wrote in English, Bengali, Hindi, and something else.
Who was that?
This is this guy. If you look on my wall, it's still there. Abdul somebody or other, Wahhabi or something. Yeah, because I posted about the woman who was originally going to be flogged for being gang raped. Oh my gosh, she walked out of the house without an escort. Well, then she obviously deserved to be raped, you know. So I posted about that, and of course I ended off my spiel with, you know, fuck Saudi Arabia and fuck Islam. and Mr. Man got all bent out of shape and was telling people that we're, oh, what was it? You pig eaters. And I'm like, well, hell yeah, of course I'm a pig eater. Bacon's the shit, man. You say that like it's a bad thing. And then it devolved into, oh, you're something about being whores. And I'm like, well, whores have the best sex. Hello. Again, you say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and you brought up you don't know the definition of horror or something.
Well, because somebody else on my friends list who's was, sympathetic to our side was like, how the hell do you know that? Because, well, because in his defense, he was from South Africa, and whore, I think, only means prostitute there.
Yeah.
Because he actually had a post on his page about whores that was obviously prostitutes. And I was like, so I think he was wondering how I know that prostitutes have the best sex. And I was like, no, no, no. Whore does not mean what you think it means.
Yeah. Well, and I think that actually ties into what's running through my brain the last 2 weeks with this whole thing with the Satanism atheist dichotomy is words don't mean what you think they mean.
Yeah.
There's, words have more than one meaning. Just because somebody is or practices, or I don't even know what word to use, believes in Satanism as their religious belief, and we'll stick to atheist Satanism just for simplicity, doesn't mean what you think it means. Same thing with an atheist. Just because we are atheists, I mean, if we want to keep it simple and avoid the whole A plus bullshit, it just means that, we don't believe in gods. That's it.
Well,
I mean,
and
just because you follow witchcraft or you practice witchcraft, and there's being a witch and practicing witchcraft, or some witches don't practice witchcraft. That's how confusing that can get. These words have specific meanings, and when you start throwing them around like Zachary King, oh, abortionists are Satanists. No, I mean, Dr. Tiller got killed because of that mentality.
Exactly right. And it also, in that crazy group, it really gets illustrated because they come up with some crazy ass shit about atheists. Like, every other fucking post is like, well, atheists, if you think this, then blah blah blah. It's like, we don't think that. Or, it's they desperately want to lump everyone in together, and it's like, it doesn't work that way. But then again, some of the atheists in that group can be just as bad.
It's like I said in the beginning. In general, excluding that group for the moment, we are, as atheists, we are just as guilty of overgeneralizing.
Yep.
And I get this thrown in my face every now and again because I do post, especially regarding, I'll just say general abuses within the church or church ministry, basically your pedophile priests or those who are associated with a church or a church school in some way that abuses children, or case in point what happened in New York 2 weeks ago where they beat one kid to death and his brother nearly to death, and mommy and daddy were part of this cultish type church. Oh, that's just the fringe. Not when I'm posting about it 3-4 times a week. It's not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And statistically, yes. The whole pedophile priest scandal, and I'm not just saying the Catholic Church, but in general, statistically, is the occurrence of such abuses would correlate to the population. It happens, in the regular population just as much as it happens within the church. But my issue goes to the fact that when you're somebody in a position of authority, such as a minister, a lay minister, an elder, whatever, you have a little bit more responsibility. Someone threw in my face, well, why don't you include teachers? the reason I don't is 15 years, actually it's longer than that. I've been 20 years ago when I was still living in Buffalo, a teacher who I happen to know was accused of uh, child sex crime. I don't remember exactly what. His name was published in the paper. Of course, he lost his job. Basically his life was ruined. Well, it turned out the two little fucking bitches that accused him lied, outright lied. He's still unemployed.
And yeah, that's a whole other topic, but
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing pisses me the fuck off because, as I'm sure you ladies know, it makes it all that harder for actual victims to come forward and say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
it's just like, they're like, oh, well, you're overgeneralizing by pointing out these cases. It's like, no, I'm not. These are people that people are going. Okay, one case I published, I think it was last week, was a girl who was raped by her, I think it was a priest, at or some way associated with the gravesite of her father.
oh, jeez.
She went to this minister for help. I don't know. I don't know if it was condolence type help or just in general because she lost her father. So this jackwad takes advantage of it and fucking rapes the girl.
Lovely.
That's where I have an issue.
Yeah.
It does happen, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the general population, but here's a child under the age of 18, I believe she was 12 or 14, I don't remember, who is going to these so-called moral people for help, and they're literally getting the shit kicked out of them in some cases.
Yeah.
And this is why when somebody has to make a point of like, oh, well, I'm a Christian, or like if somebody's applying for a job or running for office or some shit, and they're like, well, I'm a God-fearing person, that's when I'm like, okay, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because if you're sitting there going, well, I'm a Christian and I'm God-fearing and blah, 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 yeah, methinks you do protest too much, asshole.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and
they're in my. I mean, as rank as it may sound, is that there's a reason why our prison population is what 95%. I'll say self-professed Christians and less than 1% atheists.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
oh, hell yeah, because they want to get forgiven. And, well, I posted on my wall, oh, it's got to be close to a month ago now, but there was a story actually in the local paper, and it was a guy who had been denied parole. And once he was actually denied parole, he then came forward and said, because I guess in his previous hearing, he'd been all like, "Oh, I found Jesus, and I'm trying to be better," and blah blah blah. Frank came out and said, I completely lied. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, but I said that I found Jesus and all of that because I thought it would get me parole. And he was quite like, yep, I lied. Totally don't believe in God.
Yeah,
Get him
it's
out of it
it's
all that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that scene in Shawshank Redemption, where Red's up for parole. He gets denied the first time because he says all the quote right things. He gets denied the second time because he gets all the right things, and finally the third time he said, basically fuck you, and they
Yep.
let him out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, and it's just really odd. It's just like, because I said, and I'm going to use Amanda Scott as an example. I look at the kids like Amanda who came from a pretty rough background, but yet she's our hope for the future. Her and kids like her are our hope for the future. And it kind of, we have these little bright, KCUS is another one. We have those hopes, and it's just like, but man, if we gotta sit there and just keep picking the spaghetti off the ceiling, it's gonna take a while. And I think, I think as atheists, we got to really watch what we say. I mean, we can't be as guilty as, quote, Christians by lumping anything we don't agree with. Oh, that's satanic. Because I'm seeing a lot of that lately. Not just that satanic, but it's just,
Yeah,
it's
that's crazy. Then you have, people like Ben Carson come along and you just, it's like a
oh,
big,
God. you had to go there, didn't you?
well, it's the end of the
Man, okay,
show.
I will say this. Is that man really that stupid?
Apparently,
What is he? The General Admiral saved seaman once removed around the first Supreme Court judge, something, something. He said, you know what? He sounds like family members in the South.
well, and he's so funny that, he thinks that claiming to have attempted to murder people makes him more presidential.
Yeah.
And to the point where he would up.
I'm just going to run out and vote for him because he claimed to have murdered people. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he's being so honest. Like, tried to kill somebody, so, I'm gonna nuke them. They're terrorists if I have to, because I tried to kill somebody that wasn't no terrorist.
Look, I heard. Oh my gosh, I have the two guys that they're Mormon or Latter Day Saint, or if that's even the same thing. But they're the ones that have to be home by sundown, and they can't do anything till sundown
Missionary.
on Saturday.
Oh, on Saturday. Well, that's Jews or Seventh Day Adventists.
Seventh Day
Yeah.
Adventist, that's what they are.
That's what Carson is.
Well, I had one of them come up to me the other day at work, and he was like, you know, um, I think if they get Trump in the or no, he said when Trump wins, he's gonna sever all of our ties with China. Okay. You do know that we are probably we're the ones that are most in debt to China. You do know that, right? We just can't pull away from China. It's not like we can go, oh, we're done with you.
They're gonna be like, "Where's our fucking money, bitch?"
Well, and considering most of Trump's clothing line is made in China, I really highly doubt that'll ever happen.
But it's just the mentality that people have.
Hmm.
I'm like, I mean, now don't get me wrong. I want people to go out and vote. But this person's going to go vote for Trump because he's going to sever our ties with China?
Well, that brings up something that you guys have heard me comment about the 15% solution that the
Yes.
right likes to use. And now, yes, there are some questions concerning the election of Matt Bevin in Kentucky. There are concerns that possibly there was some fraud involved. That's beside the point. Is that what happened? We'll leave that issue aside. Is what happened is basically they had very, very low voter turnout. I think it was, I know it was less than 40%. And that's the 15% part of the 15% solution, because the Reich knew that less than 15% of eligible voters turn out for midterm elections. So now we have a dipshit as governor of Kentucky, and I'm not sure what to term this person. I'll say a friend. I don't think we're probably going to be friends much longer. I had commented about this on my timeline with an article leading to to Bevin's statement about rolling back the ACA and eliminating Kentucky's version of the state part of Obamacare. And he basically is like, well, what the fuck do you care about what goes on in my state? And so I wrote back to him and I said, I care about it because what happens on the state and local level does affect the national level. And he's trying to say he didn't really say that. He's not going to. It's like, yeah, he did. And of course, he cited a whole bunch of places where he said this. And he's like, and he goes, and a couple other topics about minimum wage and stuff like that. And it's just like, and some things I don't like to really call people out when they're private individuals publicly. So I sent him a PM after, and I said to him, I said, so you voted for Bevan based on one thing, because you don't like Obamacare. I said, so you voted on something because our president is black, which is basically, knowing this guy, this is what it came down to. And he's like, yep. I said, you are what's wrong with this country.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm glad that we don't have issues like this here.
Yeah. And that's why I'm hoping, like what you started out with, I'm hoping that the being in the year 2015 will trickle down to the
Well,
and we're a little,
let's come down.
yes. We're a little different in that too, where our version of a governor would be the premier, and those are provincial elections, and they're, again, you never ever vote for the person. It's whoever is the leader of the party with enough votes for government becomes the premier. So you might hope that that person will win, but unless you live in that person's riding, you can't vote for them. You're just voting either for you can choose to be like, well, I want to vote for the candidate locally that I like best, or you pick the party, whatever, but it would never quite end up like that, thankfully. But I tell you, but it's looking up. It's looking up. But it looks like we're coming to the end of the show, ladies. So why don't we do the rounds and wrap her up? Who wants to go first?
Okay. Miss Ashley.
Okay. I'm here for. I can also be No Religion Required every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Spreaker. I have a on Twitter, Miss_Ashley_NRR, or you can find me at Miss Ashley of NRR on Facebook.
Miss Beth.
Easiest way is on Twitter. It's Dune9998. That connects to my blog, which is Havoc and Chaos. Or you can find me on Facebook under Beth A. Hambridge. My other one is now disabled. I would like to delete it, but I can't figure out how. Yeah, just to kind of give a quick, I kind of was all over the place because when you talk about, but Satan, there's just so much. I'm gonna post a bunch of stuff in both the group and our show page, but to look some stuff up if you're interested. But learn about it before following, and not just us as atheists, anybody. Got to learn, got to educate. I love being educated because I'll tell you right now, Callie educated me, Amanda Scott educated me this weekend, Cash educated me this weekend. And if you guys get a chance, go check out the Atheists of Facebook, their YouTube page. They had their first ever conference this week, and there were some really, really phenomenal topics and talks, stuff like that. So go learn yourself.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out myself too. So, of course, we will be here next week, and looks like we're doing a Hovind special. Gonna have our friend Robert Beatty back, and because Hovind just can't keep his damn mouth shut. So there's been all kinds of things going on, specifically with Robert, actually. So we're going to find out about that because, leave it to the Hove indicators to go all cray-cray on us. And then looks like we're going to delve back into Scientology the week after that. So that should be fun, too, with our other friend, Robert. So it's going to be Robert Mania.
Yeah.
And today, Atheist Apocalypse, we dropped episode 7, so go check that out on atheistapocalypse.com. Things are getting interesting, so you're going to want to check that out. Lots of cool guests and characters on the show. We are just getting ready to dive into season 2 already. So, of course, you guys won't actually see it until, I think, February, but that's okay. We're only episode 7, so you've got 3 more to go after this before you have to wait a little, so don't worry, it won't be too bad. So, check us out, and as I say, Pastor Roy survived the apocalypse, as did a few other interesting folks that I think we've seen cropping up. So, give us a listen over at atheistapocalypse.com. And if you can, we would love to get some 5-star ratings on iTunes or whatever other podcast tool of your choice. If you could give us a good rating, that would be awesome. Yeah, and other than that, I think that'll do for now because it sounds like our sound is breaking up something awful again. So I'm actually, before I play our outro, I'm just going to pop out again for one more second because if it's garbled, it's going to sound like shit. So talk amongst yourselves for like a minute and I will be right back.
Less time we're back.
Boss is away. What can we do? What can we do?
You know, when she was away last time, when she was on, oh, here she's back again. Damn.
There, how's that for fast? That sound better?
That wasn't
a minute? Oh, wow. All right, well, as always, we will end the evening with Foda and his Humanist Creed, and we'll see everybody back here next week.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.